What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. The stock market was very interesting today as some stocks got absolutely demolished and some stocks did okay. So we have some really big things to talk about in today's video. Snapchat had its biggest drop ever today, and it caused a lot of other stocks to tank down with it, and we have a lot of important things. So make sure to stick around to the end of today's video. Let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below. A lot of times, the stocks you guys comment, we end up covering. But Tom, what ended up dragging the market down today?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. The SPY was down, especially early in the morning. So Snapchat and a lot of stocks were really dragging the market down. Of course, Snapchat was the big news, and you made an amazing video covering this earlier today. So I won't really talk about the specifics of it too much, but they fell down 41%. It was their worst day ever. And like I said, it drug other stocks down with it, like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Roku, Google. It dragged everything down. And the main thing is that it was a lot of these advertising companies. They've had a lot of issues right now with advertising because, as we know, there's been a lot of supply chain issues. And, if there's supply chain issues, companies aren't going to be advertising if they can't fill their orders. So, it's been causing a lot of different issues here. Like I said, Mike, lots of other big stocks were down today too. Facebook was one of the big notable ones along with Google. Those two really caught my eye today, but man, some of these poor plays like Roku was down like 13%. It was a brutal day for growth stocks, and it just goes to show you that, stocks can keep falling a little bit more, especially here in the shorter term.
No doubt. So yeah, it was Snapchat's worst day ever, and it was kind of crazy to think how, influential a bad guidance outlook from Snapchat is to the overall market. Like Twitter got destroyed, and even Facebook and Google took giant hits, and that just even had a giant influence on the S&P 500.
Yeah, it really did. That poor SPY was down a lot earlier in the morning. I'll tell you, though, it had a pretty good recovery at the end of the day. And some of those stocks like Facebook at least started coming back up a little bit compared to early in the morning. But, stocks like Facebook, it was at like 196 at close yesterday. And now we're sitting at like 182, down 7.6%. So, yeah, it was definitely a very brutal day. But I will say the recovery at the end was pretty good. I know, Mike, Zoom actually held up pretty well throughout the day, believe it or not. But early in the morning, even they were dipping down. I know we talked about them a lot with earnings yesterday, and they ended up actually holding up okay. I know some of the value stocks like McDonald's and Coca-Cola also continued up. Like McDonald's has been pretty much straight up all week.
Very true. So good stuff there. But what else is going on in the market overall?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I see JWN or Nordstrom just reported here. They're actually flying up in after hours, believe it or not, up to 25.49. We'll have to see where they end up. But man, just more crazy movement here with earnings this week. And talking about earnings, Mike, we do have some big ones coming up tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be the biggest day this week by far. So we have Dick's Sporting Goods in the morning. Keep in mind, these retailers lately have been terrible. So who knows what they're going to do. But NVIDIA after close is going to be amazing. Snowflake will be pretty big too. So kind of looking at those today, Mike, looking at like NVIDIA, they were down 4.4%. They're well below $200, which was a pretty big level for them over the past month or so. And, they're right around this lower support. So hopefully they have good earnings, or else, man, they might start breaking support and falling down to 150 or even lower.
Yeah, and they already fell a ton over the past couple months. So this is going to be a pretty important earnings release because just like we saw with the movement from Snapchat, if it's bad, not only will it affect, NVIDIA or Snapchat, but it'll have a ripple effect onto many other stocks.
Yeah, it will. I'm sure that all the chip stocks will end up falling if NVIDIA takes a big hit. I'll tell you, AMD was also down today, like 4%. They had a lot of issues breaking out above that 100 SMA today. Man, they're getting down pretty low there. They actually just failed to kind of break above $100 last week. Now they're right back below it. So hopefully they can have a good report tomorrow with NVIDIA, or else I'm sure NVIDIA will be down, AMD, Qualcomm, probably Micron, MU. I know that's been a big one lately. I kind of feel bad for Nancy Pelosi, Mike. She had that options play with Micron, and she almost like called the top there.
True. Yeah, that was pretty rough. No doubt about that. So yeah, Tom, I know that the market this week has been interesting to say the least, but tomorrow is set to be a pretty important day given the FOMC minutes will be released.
Yeah, that's going to be big. Powell actually had those welcoming remarks today at the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development. I know that's a pretty long tongue twister there, but he had those welcoming remarks today. It didn't really have any impact on the market. But yeah, tomorrow those FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern time are going to be huge. Keep in mind that's going to cover what they talked about at the meeting of May 3rd to 4th. So definitely keep that in mind. It's going to kind of highlight a little bit more into what they talked about. But as we already know, they were extremely hawkish. They raised rates at a more rapid pace, but who knows? It might go more in depth into some stuff. But the past few minutes reports have been pretty influential. So definitely keep that on the radar tomorrow.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate that tomorrow it's not like Powell is speaking or doing like an interest rate decision or anything like that. It's simply basically a recap from the previous meeting, just like Tom said. But these events have been pretty important historically speaking.
Yeah, they are. It seems like every time there's anything revolving around Powell or the Feds or the FOMC meetings or anything like that, obviously it's gonna have a big impact on the market. So definitely keep that on the radar. It's gonna have a big impact this week, I'm sure. And the SPY, Mike, like I said, it ended up closing actually pretty high today, believe it or not. It seems like it tried to actually hold like somewhere around that 385 to maybe like 387 support there. We did end up popping up pretty good at the end of the day. So who knows? Maybe those minutes will help the market come up tomorrow. I'm sure a lot of people have been kind of betting against the market lately with all the bad news going around. I know everyone's talking about recessions and everything like that on the horizon.
Yep, true that. And then I also know some of these big bank CEOs had some pretty interesting things to say lately. So what's going on?
Yeah, they did. It looks like the Bank of America CEO, Brian Moynihan here actually came out today and he said that nothing's going to slow down U.S. consumer spending. And I thought this article was very interesting. He kept reiterating that consumers were in good shape and they were not over leveraged right now. And it's pretty interesting. He said that they're seeing bank accounts that are larger than before the pandemic, and spending is 10% more right now than in May of last year. So I can't believe that. I mean, it's pretty crazy to see that spending is still up so much given that inflation's rising. But keep in mind, I'm sure that if inflation keeps going up here, that it will end up evening out eventually. But man, for right now, he's saying that they expect spending to stay high. So and he also said it's going to be very tricky for the feds to manage this type of flow with inflation and everything like that. So it's going to be difficult, Mike. But it seems like these bank CEOs have been coming out with a lot of different like economic statements over the past couple of days. So it's just interesting to kind of hear him talk about consumer spending there. And from what he's saying, it sounds like inflation might not slow down soon by if the spending doesn't slow down.
Yep, we'll see. So hopefully consumer spending stays strong. I know there's a lot of talks about recessions and a bunch of stuff like that. So hopefully, that data stays strong. The market's been pretty brutal over the past year, especially. And tomorrow, it's kind of an important day. Not like the most important thing ever, but we should definitely see increased volatility around 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is when the FOMC minutes are released.
Yeah, we should. I mean, it's been brutal ever since the beginning of May. The market's been on a pretty bad downtrend, as we can see on the chart here. So hopefully this can help turn the market around. And who knows, we might end up having a pretty big uptrend tomorrow. I know even some of those like metals like gold and silver were still back on the uptrend today, Mike. So it was kind of interesting to see how some of these hedge plays are still back on the rise here.
Yep. So Tom, do you have any favorite setups heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, so I was going to mention gold actually. So yeah, that this one I think looks pretty good. It's still on the uptrend. It is up a lot over the past few days, but it seems like day by day it keeps rising up here with all this volatility going on. I will say that some of these defense plays were also back on the rise. Like Lockheed Martin was up 2.2%. I saw General Dynamics had a pretty good day for them. And Northrop was also up 3.14%, actually, having the best day out of all the defense plays. So who knows? It looks like some of these ones like NOC are approaching highs here on the daily chart. So I really like this. We might start to see some breakouts. This kind of reminds me, Mike, of some of these oil setups like Oxy. They're just staying up here around highs. They're not really breaking out too much yet, but it seems like some of these defense plays are following along with oil a little bit.
Yep, very true. All right, so let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Square to the downside.
Yeah, Square had a pretty bad day today, down 9%. Go ahead and make them break below $74 even.
All right, and with the next one, we have Penn also to the downside.
Yeah, Penn Gaming, go ahead and make them break below 27.75.
All right, and with the last one, we have Intel, but to the upside.
Yeah, Intel actually had a pretty good day for them, believe it or not. Go ahead and make them break out above 41.87.
Sounds good. So we are watching Intel for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. And then we are watching Square in Penn for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. And I also wanted to give a giant shout out to our member of the day, Jeffrey. Huge shout out to Jeffrey. You've been in the chat for over 2 years now, and you're starting to become more active in the Stocked Up Discord. So huge shout out to Jeffrey. Thanks so much for all the support. But Tom, do you have any other final thoughts or anything before we close out of today's video?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, guys, just be on the lookout right now. You know, there's a lot of crazy analysts out coming out with some crazy expectations and stuff like that. You know, you see articles like this about Bill Ackman saying that you need to have a more aggressive Fed or a market collapse are the only ways to stop this inflation. So, you know, just keep in mind you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff coming out over the next couple weeks, especially as talks of recession and everything like that continue to get worse. So just take what you see with a grain of salt. You know, everybody is always out here trying to freak everybody out and cause a lot of volatility. So, you know, just keep in mind, just be very careful with what you're seeing out there. You know, the SPY has been definitely shaky lately. So it's been causing a lot of like mixed opinions on the market. So seems like, Mike, like, I don't know about you, but I keep seeing a lot of conflicting stuff. You know, like some analysts are saying, you know, that the Feds are going to stop inflation and the market's going to go right back up. And some people are calling for, you know, the Great Depression. So it's kind of funny, but, you know, just take everything what you see with a grain of salt right now.
Yep. And then remember, like when everyone's normally saying, you know, we're going to see a recession or the Great Depression or whatever, historically, those have been like the best times to buy. So when everyone else is freaking out, it probably gives you some good insight to buy the dip.
Yeah, it definitely can, you know, and there's a lot of good opportunities right now, I'll tell you, especially with these stocks, how they keep going down, like Facebook, Square, even like these bigger value plays like Walmart, Target, and all those types of plays are also down. So definitely some good longer term opportunities. And like you said, it definitely sometimes creates some great longer term buys. And also sometimes, you know, like the Great Depression created like the most millionaires than any time ever, I believe. So, you know, sometimes it can also be just like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, for some people, obviously it does a lot of harm for others, but yeah, normally when the markets are down quite a bit, it's a pretty good opportunity, especially for people who are new to the market. So, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe to see our videos more often. Besides that, let's have a great rest of the week.